Today or this weekend, the church celebrates the solemnity of All Saints' Day. And really, as a church, for us to celebrate the saints, it's not something that we just do one day, but it's something that we actually do in some ways every day. The saints have a great part in our lives. A simple way to think about celebrating the saints in every day, if you come to Mass on a weekday, there's a good chance that we're celebrating a certain saint's feast day. We name our cities after saints. Saints play an important part. So saints are important part in our church. In a special way, today we celebrate the saints. But this weekend there's also two other things that we're celebrating. In anticipation for All Souls' Day on Monday, we will be reading the names of those funerals that we celebrated here throughout this past year. It's part of our prayer of petition, but also in our prayer, our Eucharistic prayer of praying for those who have gone before us. Today or tomorrow also marks the start of National Vocations Awareness Week. 3 separate celebrations being celebrated. 3 celebrations in some ways would seem not to be connected. You could say that there's no links between the 3. But actually, to celebrate all saints, to celebrate all souls, to begin National Vocations Awareness Week, they're all linked together. They're all connected. Today we celebrate all saints. And for many of us on this day, we think of men and women in the church of our past to have the capital S saint in front of their name, like St. Anne, St. Francis of Assisi, St. Catherine of Siena, St. Thomas Aquinas, St. Maria de Matias, St. Gaspar del Buffalo, and the list of names goes on. I think it's almost perfect to begin a National Vocations Awareness Week on this solemnity of All Saints. Because as we celebrate all the saints, we celebrate men and women from every vocation. Obviously, we know that there are saints that are popes and bishops and priests and deacons, religious brothers and sisters. But there are also saints who are married and had kids, and even saints who are single. Men and women from all walks of life. Men and women that have a wide range of stories, of witnesses of faith to tell us. And most of the saints we call to mind, they have the capital S saint in front of their names. But today we celebrate all saints. Saints that have the capital S in front of their names, But we also celebrate saints that have a lowercase s, saint, in front of their names as well. I'll select a few of these saints. Will go on to get a capital S saint in front of their names. But for the vast majority of the saints we celebrate, have a lowercase s in front of their, saint in front of their names, and that lowercase s saint will remain in front of their names. We celebrate saints today that would probably be uncomfortable with being called a saint, or even, a matter of fact, just having the word saint being put in front of their names. We celebrate saints that generally do not even have the word saint written in front of their names. These saints generally have other titles written in front of their names. They have some saint-like qualities. Some of the same qualities that the capital S saints have in front of their names. These saints with a lowercase s saint in front of their names would seem to be more relatable to our lives, personal, in some ways more like us. In some ways, we might even say it's easier to be like them. These saints with the lowercase s saint in front of their names generally go by other titles. Titles such as mother, father, grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, coach, teacher, brother, sister, friend, doctor, aunt, and the list goes on. I think so often when we think of the saints, it's so easy to think of men and women in the church of the past, like St. Benedict or St. Monica. And yes, the saints are the part of the church's history. But you know, the saints are just not people of the past. The saints are alive and active in the church today. The saints are not just people in a far distant place, but the saints are here, living and working among us, and they impact our lives, and they inspire us on how to live our own lives. And as I said, they generally go by other titles other than the word saint. Some of the titles I just mentioned. Not only do the saints influence our lives, but the Lord, by the grace of your baptism, our God calls you to be a saint. I imagine for many of us, this idea of being a saint can make us feel a bit uncomfortable. Perhaps you could say, I never could do what St. Elizabeth Ann Seton did. Or I could never stand up to authority like St. Lawrence. Or I'm not perfect and I cannot be like whatever saint you want to fill in the blank with. No, God does not call you to be any saint of the past. God calls you to be you. Perhaps you're called to follow the example of a saint or two of the past, to pick up some quality. But note, I said to be like, and to not be. God wants you to be you. It's in being you. It's in being who Christ called you to be. It is in living the Beatitudes, which we read in our scriptures. It's living the gospel. That God calls you and me and every one of us to become saints. This is what the saints did in the past. And this is what we're called to do as saints of our church today. To be who Christ called us to be and to live the gospel.